Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hello students, welcome to repeatable.com, your online gateway to the world of invaluable knowledge. So let's continue our discussion with the topic time value of money and on the subtopic computation of future value of annuity. Before we proceed, just a quick recap. While closing our discussion in our last session, we are talking about annuity. So while discussing annuity, we discussed that annuity refers to a systematic pattern of identical cash flows which take place towards the end of the year for a stipulated time frame. So the basic difference between an annual cash flow or an annuity cash flow or a lump sum cash flow happens to be the fact that under the lump sum cash flow there is one time receipt of payment of cash, while in the case of annuity there is an sequential payment or receipt of cash with an identical amount taking place at the end of the year for a stipulated number of years in future. One thing, students, that irrespective of the fact that whether a cash flow is of the nature of a lump sum or it is of a nature of and an annuity, the concept of compound interest or compounding always comes into the play. So we should not think that compound interest takes place only in the case of a lump sum cash flow, while in the case of an annuity it doesn't take place. No, it is not so. Whether it is annuity or it is a lump sum, the concept of compound interest is always there. The only difference is that in the condition of lump sum there is only one time payment or receipt, while in the case of an annuity, receipt or payment is sequential. It takes place at the end of every year for a stipulated time period and with identical cash flows. So once again, we should try to understand the point that in the world of finance, in the world of investments, whether it is being made by common people or by the corporates, annuity is one of the most common form of, or it is one of the most common pattern of cash flows. So it becomes quite quintessential that we understand the concept of annuity properly. In order to make the things a bit more simple for you, I tried to come up with a diagrammatic representation wherein I just tried to show that there is a timeline which has been segregated amongst 4 years, first year, second year, third year, fourth year. And as you may see that at the end of every year, a constant payment of $1 is being made. So please have a careful attention on the diagram. It is a timeline. It is a very naive diagram wherein we are having 4 years, first year, second year, third year, fourth year. And at the end of the every year, $1 is being invested as an annuity at a compound interest rate of 5%. So the systematic payment is that of payment of $1 taking place at the end of the year against a compounded interest rate of 5%. So we are required to calculate the final or the future value of the annuity of $1 paid at the end of each year for the next 4 years, expected to grow at the rate of 5% per annum. So students, as per the definition of an annuity, as a characteristic of an annuity, you can see that all the 3 points are being met. Point number 1, is there a stipulated time frame? Yes, the time frame is stipulated. It is meant for the 4 years. Number 2, are the cash flows identical? Yes, the cash flows are identical. The cash flows are identical to the extent that the cash flow to be invested in an annuity is $1. And last but not the least, are the cash flows taking place at the end of the year? Yes, the cash flows are indeed taking place at the end of the year. In fact, it is taking place at the end of every year for the next 4 years. Now students, a careful look at the diagram shall reveal one very pertinent point. The $1 which has been invested at the end of the first year, it grows at the rate of 5% compound interest annually for the next 3 years. This point is very, very important, students. So pay a very rough attention to this. This $1 which has been invested at the end of 1 year, it grows for the next 3 years at the rate of 5% per annum compounded annually. Why is it so that it is going for the next 3 years? Because this $1, as it has been invested at the end of the first year, therefore it doesn't yield any return for herself. Since the investment has been made at the end of the first year, it fails to generate any return for herself, but it can very well grow for the next 3 years at the rate of 5% per annum compounded annually, with a condition that for the next 3 years the extra proceeds coming via the interest is not taken out, rather it is being allowed to stay put in the corpus itself. So the $1 which has been invested at the end of the first year grows for the next 3 years Once again, students, it happens so because for the first year, since it has been made at the end of the first year, so the $1 fails to generate any return for herself. Same thing happens when the another $1 is being invested at the end of the second year. The same $1 when it has been invested at the end of the second year, it fails to generate any return since it has been invested at the end of the second year. So it grows for the next 2 years, that is for the third year and the fourth year, at the rate of 5% per annum compounded annually. For the third year, the logic remains the same, since at the end of the third year, $1 has been invested into the fund, so it doesn't fetch any return for the third year, so it grows only for the fourth and the penultimate year or the last year, so it grows only for one more year. And for the last or the penultimate year, that is for the fourth year, since $1 has been invested at the end of the fourth year, it fails to generate any return. So whatever investment has been made in the annuity at the end of the fourth year, it stays the same without fetching any return for herself. So if this concept is clear, students, then we can understand the same thing, that how exactly the future value of annuity is being computed. Again, coming back to the first dollar which has been invested at the end of the first year, the dollar which has been invested as an annuity at the end of the first year, it is growing by the next 3 years. Therefore, again the formula that Fn is equal to P multiplied by 1 plus I to the power of n. I'm using the same formula, and so I'm depicting it by 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3. Why 1? Because 1 is the present value of the annuity, that is present amount of the annuity, that is $1, and since it is growing by 5% compounded interest rate for the next 3 years, it has been 1 plus 0.05 raised to the power of 3. The moment I am incorporating this 1 in my equation, it means that the effect of compound interest has been taken into consideration. Same for the end of the second year, when $1 has been invested at the end of the second year, it is going for the next 2 years, which has been shown by the formula, that is 1 multiplied by within bracket 1 plus 0.05 raised to the power 2. For the so on and so forth, for the third year, it is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 1. And for the fourth year, since the fourth year is not fetching any return, it is simply going by 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0. So we find that this concept of annuity is very simple, very lucid, but it is very, very important. So once again, just a quick recap. Annuity, as we all know, it refers to one fixed payment of cash inflow, or also it is a fixed payment of payment or receive of any cash, which is being made at the end of the year for a stipulated time frame. So for the future, in order to calculate the future value, the sum total of the future value of an annuity, the sum total of each and every cash flow has to be taken into isolation, and then they need to be summed up. It means if we are interested in calculating the future value of this entire cash flow, which means that $1 of annuity being invested at the end of the year for the time span of 4 years, then we will have to add the cash flow pattern, the future value of the annuity of $1 across all the 4 years. That is, first, that is 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3, added to it 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2, 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 1, and 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0. A sum total of all the 4 shall give us the future value of an annuity of $1, which has been invested for the next 4 years and which is expected to grow at the rate of 5% per annum compounded annually. Now students, the same explanation has been put forth to you, as it is known that under annuity, the receipt or payment of a fixed cash flow is being made at the end of the year. The $1 invested at the end of the first year grows at 5% compounded for the next 3 years. The same thing which I just discussed with you, that is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3. Similarly, the next $1 invested at the end of the second year grows at the rate of 5% compounded for the next 2 years. That is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2, and so on. But at the end of the fourth year, the $1 invested does not fetch any return because it cannot grow, since the investment has been made by the end of the fourth year. So it is being shown by 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0. Now, as I just discussed, the future value of the annuity shall turn out to be the sum total of the future value of all the individual annuities. Therefore, we're starting with the first year annuity, since it is going for the next 3 years. It is being shown as 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3. Added to it, that is plus the annuity for the future value of the annuity for the second year, which grows for the next 2 years, that is 1 plus 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2 For the third year, which goes for the, and just for the fourth year, that is the last year, that is 1 plus 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 1, and plus for the fourth and the penultimate year, wherein the $1 annuity does not fetch any return. It simply looks like 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0. We all know, students, that anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. Therefore, 1 multiplied by 1 is simply 1. And anything raised to the power 1 is the base itself. So it is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05, that is 1.05. So the future value is 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 3, that is 1.16, plus 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 2, that is 1.110, plus for the third year 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 1, that is 1.05, and last but not the least 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Therefore, the future value turns out to be the summation of all the 4, that is 4.31. Once again, student, anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. Therefore, 1 plus 0.05 raised to the power is nothing but it is just 1. So, 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, and anything raised to the power of 1 is the base itself, that is 1 plus 0.005 raised to the power 1 is 1.05 multiplied by 1, that is 1.05. So the sum total of the annuity of $1 which is being invested for 4 years, expected to grow at the rate of 5% per annum compounded annually, turns out to be $4.31. That is the sum total of the annuity for the first year, second year, third year, and the fourth year. Students, one thing, if we try to rework the entire calculation backwards, right now it is not that we are doing a wrong calculation, it is absolutely right calculation, because the essence of annuity says so that whatever has been invested at the end of the first year grows only for the next n-1 year. So if we have to prove something, if we need to prove a formula for the computation of the future value of an annuity, it becomes very imperative that we tweak or we just restructure the calculation by taking it backwards. So if we take it backwards, we will find that we can start it off from the fourth year by making it the first year. So Fn will be 1 starting from the last year, 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 0, 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 1, plus 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2, plus 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 3. Now, if you take a very close look, you will find that this sequence is growing in the shape of an geometric sequence. The sequence at which this is growing is a geometric sequence. It means that the sequence at which the future value of annuity is increasing is basically a geometric sequence. So, students, without delving deeper into geometric sequence, rather I'm safely assuming that almost all of you are well conversant with the geometric sequence. I will just give a passing reference to it. A geometric sequence is a sequence which is in the term an is equal to ar raised to the power n-1. So geometric sequence is always in the form of an is equal to ar raised to the power of n-1, wherein an refers to the value of the a at the nth term, and a is your first term and r is the common ratio between two terms. Raised to the power n-1 means that n number of years which is lesser by 1 year. So an is equal to ar. Again, a refers to the first term, r is the common ratio between the two terms, the common ratio between two terms, and n-1 refers to 1 year less than the n number of years for which the sequence is being drawn. Now, the geometric sequence, it follows the following progression. The progression for the geometric sequence is as follows: AR 1 minus 1, comma, AR 2 minus 1, AR 3 minus 1, AR 4 minus 1, AR 5 minus 1, and it extends up to AR n minus 1, which eventually turns out to be AR to the power of 0, AR to the power of 1, AR to the power of 2, AR cube, AR to the power of 4, ultimately which goes up to AR to the power of n minus 1. So as we just discussed, we all know that anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. So for the first term, if r is being raised to the power of 0, it is just 1. Therefore, a into 1 is a. Once again repeat, anything raised to the power of 0 turns out to be 1. Therefore, a multiplied by 1. Why 1? Because r has been raised to the power of 0. Therefore, r becomes 1. So, a into 1 is equal to a. In the second case, anything raised to the power of 1 becomes the base itself. So, r raised to the power 1 becomes the base itself, that is the r. So, a into r becomes ar. Then ar square, ar cube, ar fourth, and then n A, that AR n minus 1. So one thing is very important, students. So when we are dealing with the n minus 1 term, it means that we are subtracting, we are taking one term less than what we are supposed to take. So ultimately it is A comma AR square, AR cube, AR4, and which extends up to AR n minus 1. Now the sum, the sum of the geometric series, that is the Sn, the sum of the geometric series happens to be Sn is equal to A plus AR plus AR square plus AR cube plus AR4, and which extends up to AR n minus 1. Now if you take a closer look, the annuity cash flows 2 follows the same geometric sequence. Now again, referring back to our actual slide where we saw that the sum of the future value of the annuity, if you take a closer look, it is also growing in the pattern of a geometric sequence. The future value of the annuity is also growing in the form of a geometric sequence, wherein the first term is 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 0, 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 1 to the power of 2 and to the power of 3, and so on and so forth. Now if you compare this against the sum of the geometric sequence, you will find that there is a common pattern which both are sharing. For Sn also, the first term is just A because it has been raised to the power 0, and it is the same thing which we found over here, that when we took up the backward calculation, the first term is starting from the raised to the power 0, wherein which means that the first annuity is becoming just 1, which actually shows that the annuity which has been invested at the end of the 4th year doesn't really fetch any return. So with this striking similarity, we can say that the formula for calculation of the future value of an annuity follows the same geometric sequence which the actual geometric sequence follows, which is again S in the form of Sn is equal to A plus AR square plus AR cube and AR4 to the extent of AR n minus 1. Again, coming back to the formula, we are finding that with every passing year, then 1 year is being subtracted. Why 1 year is coming less? That is n minus 1 is also applying in the case of future value of an annuity in the form of n minus 1. Why? Because in the case of annuity, we have seen that since the annuity payment is being made at the end of the year, it is increasing only by the next 3 years, and thereby not taking into consideration that particular year in which the annuity payment has been made. So we can say that the sequence of the calculation of the future value of an annuity follows the same geometric sequence which the actual sequence follows. Now you can see it from here also. Now the annuity cash flows to follow the same geometric sequence pattern. Now let's try and understand it. So as per the as per the sequence, it is Sn is equal to A plus AR square plus AR cube to up to AR n minus 1. Let's try to put the value, the annuity variables, and let's try to put the value in the geometric sequence, and let's try to find out whether or not truly the sequence of calculation of future value of an annuity truly follows the geometric sequence path. So just as the formula says that An is equal to AR n minus 1, so in the case of annuity also, our first term or A is $1. That is $1 of an annuity which is expected to be paid at the end of every year. And R is nothing but it is a common difference. So R is 1 plus I, or 1 plus 0.05. Why is it so 1 plus 0.05? Because 1.0.05, it means that each year's annuity is supposed to grow at the rate of 5% compounded annually. I once again repeat, students, it actually means that each year's annuity payment of $1 is supposed to increase at the rate of 5% per annum compound interest, and n is 4 years, because the entire time length or the stipulated time frame for the annuity turns out to be 4 years. So we are finding that all the 3 variables in the case of an annuity are bearing a striking resemblance to the term against which the geometric sequence has been used, that is An is equal to A multiplied by R raised to the power n minus 1. So for Fn, as per the formula AR n minus 1, as per the formula for the entire sum of the Fn, or the sum of the future value of an annuity, first term 1 into R, that is 1 into 1 plus 0.05 raised to the power n minus 1, that is 1 minus 1, because for the first year it is 1 minus 1. And minded students, we are taking it on the reverse calculation part. It means in actuality we are taking the 4th year as the starting point. So when we are taking the 4th year as the starting point, we all know that any annuity which has been given effect to at the end of the 4th year doesn't earn any return. So it is to the power of 1 minus 1 or 0. So and for the second year, rather 3rd year in this particular case, 1 again, the first term is 1 multiplied by 1.0.05 into 2 minus 1. For the third year, it is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 3 minus 1, and for the first year again it is 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 4 minus 1. So fourth year, third year, second year and the first year. Instead of taking the first, second, third and fourth, we're taking it backwards, wherein we're starting with the fourth year, and since in the fourth year there is no accretion, or there is no accruement, or there is no earning of an interest, so the power is absolutely raised to the power 0. So a into r raised to the power 0, and for the third year it is n minus 1. So when we're talking about the third year, it is 2 minus 1, that is 1 into 1 plus 0.05 to the power of 2 minus 1, then again 1 multiplied by 1 plus 0.05 3 minus 1, and finally for the first year it is 1 within bracket 1 plus 0.05 4 minus 1. So for the fourth year, third year, second year and the first year. Now by solving it, it is quite simple to solve. Therefore, Fn is equal to 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 0 plus 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 1 plus 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 2 plus 1 multiplied by 1.05 to the power of 3. Ultimately, it works out to be the same thing which I already discussed. Again, a quick recap. Anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. Therefore, 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. So, it is 1 multiplied by 1. Why 1? Because 1.05 has been raised to the power 0, so it turns out to be 1. So 1 into 1 is 1. And second case, anything raised to the power of 1 is the base itself. Any base which has been raised to the power of 1 happens to be the base itself. So in this particular case, 1 multiplied by 1.05 is exactly 1.05. And in the third case, it is simple, that is 1 multiplied by 1.05 into 1.05, and the last but not the least, it is 1 multiplied by 1.05 into 1.05 into 1.05. So upon further solving, we are getting Fn is equal to 1 plus 1.05 plus 1.103 plus 1.16. Why 1.103? Because students, 1.05 into 1.05 into 1 is 1.103. 1.05 into 1.05 into 1.05 into 1 works out to be 1.16. So a sum total of all the future value of individual annuity across 4 years expecting to grow at the rate of 5% per annum is 4.31 USD or $4.31. So we are finding that under both the cases the results are identical, whether we are going by a simple individual calculation of the future value and then summing it together, or we are following the geometric sequence pattern. The end results are identical. It means that yes, it hence proved that the future value of an annuity, it does follow the pattern of the geometric sequence, or it does follow the pattern of the sum of the geometric sequences. Thus it can be seen that the annuity cash flow followed a geometric sequence in the form of Fn is equal to a 1 plus I to the power of 0 plus a within bracket 1 plus I to the power of 1 plus a within bracket 1 plus I to the power of 2 plus a within bracket 1 plus I to the power of 3, which goes up to a 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1. Why a? A is the first term, 1 plus I is a common ratio, and 0, 1, 2, 3 respectively means the power raised to n minus 1. So first term multiplied by the common ratio a into r raised to the power n minus 1. I hope this simple discussion is clear with each one of your students. This discussion is clear with you all. Hope I've been in a position to make myself a bit clear with you all. So that's it for now. Thank you, students. Happy learning.